Every month, my son came to my house with some new excuse to ask for my pension money, until one day, I sat waiting for him with my lawyer by my side. What I did after that, he would never forget. When Jacob pushed open the living room door that morning, the smile on his face was that same familiar one. That fake, slightly crooked smile I had known since he was little every time he lied about who broke the vase in the hallway. But this time, the smile lasted only a few seconds, because right there on the green velvet armchair where my late husband, Mark, used to sit and read the newspaper was attorney Andrew Collins. With a brown leather briefcase on his lap and a face as serious as a courtroom, I saw the color drain from my son's face. His hands trembled, still clutching the house key I'd given him years ago when I thought he'd use it to visit his mother, not to take her money. The room grew so heavy I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, like it was counting down to an explosion. "Mom, what's going on? What is this?" His voice shook like a scared child's. I didn't answer right away. I stood beside the family photo shelf, where one picture still showed him smiling sincerely before Emily, my daughter-in-law, entered his life like a storm disguised as sunlight. I folded my arms, feeling the tension run through my whole body. I was 68 years old, but at that moment, I had never felt stronger. "Mr." Collins stood up calmly, adjusted his dark blue tie, and extended his hand. "Hello, Jacob. I'm your mother's attorney. Pleasure to meet you." The world seemed to stop. Jacob looked at me as if I had torn my own heart out and dropped it at his feet. Maybe I had. For 3 years, I had been nothing but an emotional ATM for him, a bank that never charged interest, never said no, never closed. And that day, I was shutting that account for good. But to understand why I reached that moment, the moment I looked my only son in the eyes and chose myself, you need to know where it began. Let me tell you about the begging, the lies wrapped in fake affection. The day I found out my daughter-in-law was laughing at me while spending my hard-earned money in luxury restaurants. About the nights I wanted to give up, and the day I realized I would no longer be the mother who bowed her head for scraps of respect. This is the story of how I learned, at 68, that a mother's love can be infinite, but her dignity cannot be traded. And sometimes, to save the one you love, you must first save yourself. So sit down. Because what comes next will make you ask yourself, how far would you go for your child? And how much would you endure before saying, enough? When Mr. Collins opened that brown leather briefcase and laid out the papers, bank statements, receipts, my shaky handwritten notes, I saw my whole life become evidence of a single crime: trusting too much, loving without limits, believing that blood ties always came first, even when that same blood was draining me dry. Jacob stepped back once, then again like trying to escape the truth about to crush him. "Mom, wait. Can we talk in private?" That's when I said the line I had rehearsed for weeks in front of the mirror, crying and shaking, but certain. "No, Jacob. Today you sit and listen. For 3 years, only you have talked while I listened. Today, this conversation will be different. If you want to know what drives a mother to corner her own son, keep listening. Because what happened in that room changed everything. But to reach that day, I have to take you back to where it all began, when everything started to crumble, one brick at a time, until nothing was left but dust where love used to be. Losing Mark wasn't just losing a husband. It was as if someone had pulled the ground out from under me, leaving me suspended in empty space, not knowing where to go or who I was without him. We had been married 43 years, sharing the same pillow, the same bills, the same dreams. And then, in an instant while watering the backyard garden, his heart stopped. Suddenly, I was alone. The house became too big, and the silence too loud. I woke up at night waiting to hear his snoring, only to feel the cold, empty space beside me. The loneliness pressed on my chest until I forgot how to eat, because eating alone had no taste anymore. My name is Julie. I'm 68 years old and spent over 30 years working as a lunch server at a public school in Portland. My pension isn't much, about $3,200 a month, but it's enough to live on. The house I live in was left to me by an aunt, a 2-story place with green-tiled kitchen floors and apple trees in the backyard. Mark and I raised Jacob here, Every corner holds a memory. For months after Mark passed, I barely left my room. It was my kind neighbor, Helen, who pulled me back to life. She brought food, sat and talked, refusing to take no for an answer. "Julie, life's not over yet. You're still here. As long as you're breathing, you've got to live." But I didn't know how to live when I was no longer Mark's wife. That's when Jacob began visiting more often. My only child, 42 years old, worked as a data analyst for a tech company in Seattle. He was smart, polite, his father's pride. After Mark's death, Jacob came every week, bringing the waffles I liked, taking me for walks around the lake, sitting on the porch while I drank my coffee. I clung to those visits like a drowning person to a piece of wood. Jacob was all the family I had left, and he knew it. One afternoon, about 6 months after the funeral, he brought a woman. Straight, shiny hair, manicured nails, designer clothes. "Mom, this is Emily. We're dating." Emily greeted me with a forced smile and an air kiss that didn't touch my cheek. She spent the whole time glued to her phone, while Jacob eagerly told me how they met on a dating app and how amazing she was. I tried to share his excitement, but the way Emily's eyes scanned my house, lingering on each object, as if calculating its value, made me shiver. When they left, Helen, who had seen everything through her window, rushed over. "Julie, be careful with that girl. She's got the look of someone after something." I laughed, saying she was overreacting, that everyone deserves a chance, but deep down, I knew she was right. 3 months later, Jacob called, full of excitement. "Mom, I proposed to Emily." She said yes. My heart tightened, joy mixed with fear. Joy that my son had found love, fear born of a mother's intuition. But I hugged him, congratulated him, and promised to be there on his big day. A week later, the requests began. Jacob sat on my sofa, twisting his hands. "Mom, the wedding's so expensive. Could you help out a little? We'll pay you back after." The amount he mentioned was $8,000, almost 3 months of my pension. I had a small savings account that Mark and I had built over our lifetime. It didn't earn much interest, but it gave me peace of mind. Seeing my son's hopeful eyes and thinking of Mark missing the wedding, I nodded. "All right, I'll help." His grateful smile made me feel useful again, made me feel like a mother. I didn't know that smile would return month after month, with new excuses, different numbers, and the same line: "I'll pay you back." I had no idea I was opening the door to my own downfall. When Jacob hugged me and said, "Thanks, Mom. I don't know what I'd do without you," all I felt was love. Blind love, the kind that turns a mother into prey. Jacob had discovered that his mother was a safe, full of love, one that never said no. Can you guess where this story goes next? Keep listening, because the worst was yet to come. The wedding took place on a sunny Saturday in November. A small event, white and gold, decor, around 80 guests. Emily wore an expensive-looking strapless gown, and Jacob beamed in the gray suit I'd helped him pick. I cried during their vows, cried missing Mark, wishing he could have seen our son marry, but during the reception, something froze me. I was sitting at the last table, chatting with my friend Carol, when I heard Emily speaking loudly to a friend right behind me. "Good thing my mother-in-law paid up, or we'd have had to get married at City Hall. That old lady's been sitting on her money for years and doesn't even know what to do with it." Her friend laughed. I pretended not to hear. Pretended because I didn't want to ruin Jacob's day. Pretended because I wanted to believe I'd misheard. Pretended because deep down, I was terrified of the truth. 2 months after the wedding, Jacob showed up again. It was a Friday afternoon. I was taking a roast out of the oven when I heard the key turn. "Mom, are you home?" He stepped in looking pitiful. Sitting at the kitchen table, he said softly, "Mom, I need to talk to you." My heart sank. I recognized that tone, the same one he used at 15 when he confessed to wrecking his new bike. "Go ahead, son." He took a deep breath. "Emily and I need some furniture for the new apartment. We found a 2-bedroom near downtown, small but affordable. The problem is, it's empty. Emily's tired of sitting on plastic chairs." He paused, waiting for me to fill in the blank. "How much, Jacob?" If you could help with around $4,500, that'd be great. We found a few sales, just the basics. That was more than a month's pension, but I'd just been paid and still had a little saved. I'll see what I can do. His face lit up. He stood and hugged me tight. Thank you, Mom, really. We won't forget this. The next day, I transferred the money. Then 3 weeks passed, no call, no thank you, no visit. It was Helen who brought it up. Julie, has your son invited you to see the new place? I lied, saying yes, that it was lovely, that they had great taste. The truth? I hadn't been invited. The truth was, they only remembered me when they needed something. I pushed the thought away, it hurt too much to face. 3 quiet months passed until one late night, the phone rang. It was Jacob, panicked. Mom, sorry for calling so late, but it's urgent. Emily's in terrible pain, she needs a root canal, full treatment, can't wait. She's taking painkillers but nothing's working. My heart clenched. Not for Emily, I barely knew her, but for my son, desperate for his wife. How much? The dentist wants $3,000 for everything. I know it's a lot, Mom. I know I've asked before, but we're stuck, rent's due. Bills are piling up. I swear, when I get my year-end bonus, I'll pay you back. So, goodbye to my plan to buy a new fridge. Goodbye to repainting the peeling walls. But mothers give from where there's nothing left. All right, Jacob, I'll transfer it tomorrow. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling, doing the math. In less than a year, I had given him $15,500, nearly 5 months of pension, and hadn't seen a single dollar returned. But I clung to his promise. When I get my bonus, I'll pay you back. I believed it, like a castaway clings to driftwood. Then December came, Christmas passed, New Year's passed, no repayment. But on social media, I saw the pictures Jacob and Emily dining at an upscale Japanese restaurant, Emily carrying designer bags, Jacob wearing imported shoes. I didn't ask, didn't scold. Mothers don't demand, mothers give, mothers endure, mothers understand, or at least that's what I told myself each night as I ate noodles and sausage because beef had become too expensive. And the requests? They were just beginning. Jacob had realized something terrifying. A mother who loves too much, never closes her door, never says no, never doubts. And me, I was digging my own grave, dollar by dollar, wrapping each sacrifice in the paper of love. Have you ever given someone something and later regretted it? Keep listening, because this story isn't over. My grandmother used to say, when you give away everything you have, you'll have nothing left, and when you have nothing left to give, they'll call you selfish. I didn't understand that until asking became his habit. Every 5th day of the month, the day my pension hit the account, the phone would ring, the lock would turn, or a message would pop up. Always Jacob, with that half-guilty, half-pitiful tone that fooled no one except me, the mother still trying to believe. January, car trouble. Mom, my car broke down. The mechanic says I need a new fuel pump, $2,800. If I don't fix it, I can't get to work. In February, it was credit card debt. Mom, I messed up. I let the balance pile up, and now I owe $5,000 in interest. If I don't pay it off, my credit will be ruined, and we won't even be able to rent a place anymore. In March, it was an advanced course that never existed. Mom, there's this advanced programming course I can take. It could help me get promoted. It's expensive, but it's a good investment. I paid for it. A few weeks later, when I asked about it, he dodged the question, said he switched classes, got too busy. He never mentioned it again. In April, it was a big investment. Mom, Emily's brother is launching a digital marketing company. He invited me to invest. It's only $6,000, and I'll pay you back double in a few months. That was the first time I hesitated. Son, I'm not sure I have enough left. Don't you want me to get ahead, Mom? That one sentence was enough today, make me feel like a terrible mother. I transferred the money the same day. That company never existed, or maybe it did, but I never saw a penny from it. In May, it was his mother-in-law's surgery. Mom, Emily's mom needs an urgent operation. The private hospital is charging $3,500 and the insurance company will take weeks. Emily's desperate. I can't stand seeing her in pain, so there went the money I had saved to repair the roof that leaked whenever it rained hard. And so it went, month after month, one excuse after another. I started writing everything down in an old notebook hidden in a drawer. I don't even know why, maybe because a part of me had started to suspect something, or maybe because I needed to see on paper that this wasn't normal. July, $2,200, broken laptop repair. August, $800, traffic fine. September, $2,500, another dental procedure. This time Emily's wisdom teeth. October, $3,200, online English classes for her. By November, I did the math. 18 months since the wedding, I had given my son a total of $43,800. I sat frozen on the edge of my bed, staring at that number. It was unbelievable, but it was my handwriting. Each figure matched a lie. My savings were gone, and I was living only on my small pension. I started buying the cheapest blood pressure medication, stopped getting my nails done, even canceled my health insurance because I couldn't afford it. Meanwhile, Jacob was still glowing in his social media photos, new restaurants every weekend, designer clothes, Emily with shiny hair, polished nails, and expensive makeup. Then Helen said it out loud. "Julie, I'm sorry, but your son is taking advantage of you. You're thinner, exhausted, and he's living like royalty. Helen, he's my son. He's all I have." "Exactly, Julie. That's why you can't let him destroy you." I snapped. Told her to stay out of it, that she didn't understand what a mother's love meant. I said it out of anger, but deep down, I was terrified she was right. Then December came, one full year of me draining myself for my son. And that's when Jacob showed up, wearing a strange, hopeful smile. "Mom, sit down. I have news." My heart raced. I thought maybe it was about a promotion, or something good. I smiled softly. "Mom, I came to tell you. Emily's pregnant." The whole world stopped. I was going to be a grandmother. After all the pain, silence, and loneliness, I was finally going to have a grandchild, a reason to live again, a joy that Mark, my husband, wouldn't be here to see, but one I would cherish for both of us. I burst into tears, hugged my son tightly, and silently thanked God. But then Jacob added, "There's one more thing. It's a high-risk pregnancy. The doctor wants special tests, imported, vitamins, and close monitoring. We need around $5,000 to start proper prenatal care." I didn't have that kind of money. After paying the mortgage and buying groceries for the month, my account was nearly empty. But this was my grandchild, an unborn baby who needed help. "Give me a few days, son. I'll figure something out." I borrowed $1,000 from my best friend Helen, $500 from my sister, and took the rest from next month's mortgage payment. I scraped together every cent like picking up crumbs, and finally, I had the $5,000. Jacob left with a bright smile, while I sat alone in the living room, staring at nothing, whispering to myself, "It'll be worth it. Once the baby's born, everything will make sense." I bought pink and blue yarn and started crocheting a little blanket. Every night I stayed up, carefully weaving each stitch, imagining that tiny face. Until 3 weeks later, when I opened Instagram by chance and saw a photo of Emily in a bar, holding a glass of red wine, laughing without the slightest sign of pregnancy. Do you think I called them right away? Not yet. The worst was still coming. The ground felt like it vanished beneath me. My stomach twisted. A cold shiver ran down my spine even though it was sunny outside. Emily wore a tight red dress, wineglass in hand, her smile smug and careless. The caption read, "Cheers to a beautiful life with my best girls." I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. The half-finished blanket slipped from my lap, 40 inches of lies, pink and blue stitched together. My hands trembling, I called Jacob. Once, twice, 3 times, voicemail. I texted, "Son, we need to talk." The message showed seen, but no reply. 3 days crawled by like 3 years. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just kept staring at that photo, zooming in on every detail, desperate for an explanation. Maybe it was an old picture? Maybe she lost the baby, and I didn't tell me? Maybe I was lying to myself. On the fourth day, the fridge was empty, so I had to go grocery shopping. I grabbed the canvas bag Helen gave me for Christmas, planning to stop by the corner store, but for some reason, that day I turned into the upscale supermarket downtown, where a jar of olives cost a week's worth of my meals. Maybe I just wanted to pretend, for a few minutes, that I still had a different kind of life. I pushed the empty cart down the aisle, glancing at prices, when I heard laughter, a laugh so familiar it made my heart drop. I turned, and there was Emily, standing in the wine section with a blonde woman. Their cart was overflowing with imported cheese, expensive wine, Belgian chocolate, things I'd never dared to buy. I was about to walk over and ask about the pregnancy, the money, everything, but I stopped. I froze behind the olive oil display on sale and listened. "Sweetheart, I told you, that old woman will believe anything." Emily's voice rang clear, arrogant, without a hint of shame. The blonde woman laughed. "Seriously? She bought the pregnancy story?" "Of course," Emily snickered. Jacob just had to sound serious, say it was high risk, needed special tests. She didn't ask a thing, just wired $5,000. The money I'd borrowed, skipped meals for, and taken from my mortgage to help my son, and they treated it like a joke. The blonde woman picked up a bottle, reading the label. "Really, Julie? She's that gullible?" Emily smirked. "She's like an open door. All you need is one sad story, and the money falls right in." "Last month, Jacob said we needed to redo the living room," Emily went on, "and guess what? $4,000 in our account the next day." My heart stopped. I had believed him because he was my son. "Don't you ever feel guilty?" the friend asked, more curious than judgmental. Emily shrugged. "She lives alone in that huge house, gets a pension every month. What does she need the money for? Leave it to the government when she dies? At least we know how to enjoy life." They both laughed lightheartedly, as if my pain were nothing. "What about the Cancun trip in July?" the friend teased, nudging Emily. "Her money too?" Emily dropped a bottle of champagne into the cart. Jacob told her his laptop broke, needed a new one for work. She didn't even hesitate. We even managed to spend 4 days in Playa del Carmen. Amazing. I stood there, paralyzed, unable to breathe. It felt like someone had stabbed me in the chest and twisted the knife slowly. "How long do you plan to keep it up?" the friend asked. "Until it's all gone, of course," Emily replied. "As long as the cow gives milk, you keep milking. Once she's dry, we'll deal with it. Jacob even said if she gets too old, we'll put her in a nursing home and sell the house. She won't even notice." A cow, a nursing home, sell the house. They were talking about me, the house Mark and I built brick by brick, where I raised my son, where apple trees grew in the yard he once tended. My legs shook, the world spinning around me. Emily's phone rang, and she answered sweetly. "Hey babe, I got the wine. On my way home. Dinner's at 8, right?" Then they left, their cart full of luxuries paid for with my trust. I stood there trembling, my cart empty, my heart emptier still. I walked out of the store without remembering how I got home. I only recall sitting on the couch, still wearing my bag, staring at the half-finished blanket, pink and blue, 40 inches of lies. I cried until there were no tears left. When the tears ran dry and my throat burned, I opened my old notebook filled with every transaction. I added them all up, month by month, lie by lie. The total came to $47,300. That was the price of trust, the cost of a mother's love. I opened my phone and scrolled through their pictures. Fancy restaurants, trips, designer clothes, luxury hotels, all paid for with my money, while I ate noodles and sausage and split my pills in half to make them last longer. But what hurt most wasn't the money, or even the lies. It was realizing that, to my own son, I was nothing but a milk cow. Do you think that's when I exploded, called to scream at him? No. I did something else, something colder, smarter. There's one thing about pain people rarely understand. It can destroy you, or it can transform you. That night, I sat alone in the dark, the notebook on my lap, rain pounding on the leaky roof, and I made a decision. I wouldn't yell, I wouldn't cry, I wouldn't show up at his door. Because those who lie and steal from their own mother don't deserve a warning, they deserve a lesson. And after 68 years of living, I'd learned one truth. Hot revenge is for the foolish. Real revenge is cold, cold enough to freeze the soul of the one receiving it. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes but a strangely clear mind. I poured myself a cup of black coffee, put on beige slacks and a white linen blouse, the outfit I always saved for important days, and drove to visit an old friend, Janet, a former coworker who'd retired 2 years earlier. She opened the door with a bright smile, the smell of cornbread and coffee filling the air. "Julie, what a surprise. I thought you'd forgotten me." "Janet, I need your help," I said plainly. Her smile faded a little. "What do you need? Your son's a lawyer, right?" "Andrew? Yes. Why?" I took a deep breath. "I need a lawyer, and I need someone I can trust." Janet didn't ask another question. She picked up her phone, called her son, and scheduled a meeting for that afternoon. Before I left, she squeezed my hand. "Julie, whatever this is, you'll get through it. You've always been strong." I hugged her briefly, just enough to gather strength. I couldn't cry anymore. I needed to save my tears for the fight ahead. Attorney Andrew Collins's office was in a small commercial building downtown. It was tidy, warm, and professional. He shook my hand firmly, his serious eyes giving me a sense of calm. "Mrs. Julie, my mother told me a bit about your situation. Can you explain in more detail?" I opened the notebook, pointing line by line, date by date, payment by payment. "My son asked for this money. I trusted him and gave it, but now I know it was all lies. He and his wife used it for trips, fine dining, luxury items while I cut pills, skipped meals, and fell behind on my bills." Andrew listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, he removed his glasses, looking at me with a mix of sadness and anger. "Do you still have proof of the transfers?" "Yes, I kept everything, and messages, conversations where they asked for money. Some were deleted, but I still have many." He sighed, then asked, "Do you intend to sue your son?" That question landed like a stone in my chest. Sue my own son. Those words never belonged in the same sentence. I don't know. I just want him to understand what he did was wrong. I want him to pay back at least part of it. I want him to learn something." Andrew leaned forward, clasped his hands, and said firmly, "If that's truly what you want, I know exactly what to do, Mrs. Julie, I'll be honest," he began. "Legally speaking, since these payments are considered informal loans without written contracts, it's very hard to win in court. But," he raised a finger, "we can use that to create pressure. A formal legal notice, drafted carefully, with all your transfer records and witness statements if we have them, will be enough to scare him into negotiating." "Negotiate?" I asked. "What do you mean?" "It means forcing him to repay gradually, or at least return part of it, along with a written agreement promising never to ask for money again." He paused, then added slowly, "But for this plan to work, you'll need to be ready to go all the way. You'll need to face your son." I looked down at my hands, wrinkled, marked with age spots, hands that had worked 40 years serving school lunches, hands that once cradled my baby boy. "I'm ready," I said. We spent the whole afternoon preparing. Andrew guided me to gather my bank statements, print messages, and note every detail I remembered. He even explained how to record conversations legally. It only required one party's consent, and in this case, that party was me. "Do you have anyone who can testify? Anyone who's seen or heard about this?" "I have Helen, my neighbor, and Janet, my friend. They both warned me before." "Perfect," he said. "I'll need short written statements from them." I left his office with a thick folder and a strange feeling in my chest, not relief, not anger, but determination, sharp, steady, and cold. Over the next few days, I became my own detective. I went to the bank and asked for every statement from the past 3 years. The teller looked at the long stack of printed pages and asked, surprised, "Ma'am, are you sure you want all of this?" "I'm sure. And please highlight every transfer made to my son's account." She handed me 27 pages of transactions, from 1,000, 5,000, even small hundreds, each one a time. I emptied my balance just to help him. I sat in the waiting area of the bank, staring at the numbers in front of me. That was my blood turned into rows of cold digits. Simone, the branch manager who had known me for years, walked over. "Julie, are you all right? Is something wrong?" I could have lied, but I didn't. "Simone, my son has been deceiving me for 3 years. I'm gathering evidence to reclaim at least part of what he took." Her face fell. "Oh my God. Julie, I'm so sorry. If you need official confirmation of any transactions, just say the word, we'll provide it." "I'll need that. Thank you." I carried the heavy stack of papers home. Helen saw me from across the yard and hurried over. "Julie, where have you been these past few days?" I told her everything, the conversation at the supermarket, meeting the lawyer, the plan. She hugged me tightly. "Thank God you finally woke up. I was afraid you'd completely fall apart. I need your help. Write down everything you remember, every time I told you about him asking for money, every time you warned me." "I'll write it tonight," Janet wrote. 2-3 pages detailing how she once lent me money to help Jacob and how she'd watched me grow thinner and weaker with each passing month. As for me, I went through my son's social media, saving every photo, every video, every restaurant check-in, every trip. I created a folder on my old computer called Evidence and stored everything inside. A week later, Andrew called. "Mrs. Julie, I've compiled everything. The file is thorough. Now I need to know when you want to take action." "The 5th, the day he usually comes for my pension money." "You're sure he'll come?" "Absolutely. He hasn't missed that day once in 3 years." "Then let's prepare a surprise for him." We planned every detail. Andrew would sit hidden in the living room with the recorder running. Helen and Janet would stay across the street, ready to serve as witnesses if needed. I rehearsed my words, my tone, how to stay calm. The night before the confrontation, I took out the pink and blue blanket I had crocheted for the grandchild who never existed, placed it in a pink case along with all the documents. I wanted Jacob to see it, to know the depth of his cruelty. That evening, Jacob texted, "Mom, I'll come by tomorrow. We need to talk. Love you." I replied with a heart emoji. "Okay, I'll be waiting." That night was the longest of my life. I tossed and turned, listening to the wind slipping through the window cracks, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock. Near dawn, I walked into the living room, turned on the light, and stared at the pink case on the table, screaming silently. I opened it, touched the unfinished blanket, imagined the baby who never was, and broke down crying. I cried until there were no tears left, my throat tight, my chest burning. Because this wasn't just about money. It was about a dream I had woven with my whole heart, now revealed as an illusion. A love that made me forget myself. A reflection of a woman I no longer recognized in the mirror. I sat in the dark, and one question echoed in my mind. Is it worth it? Is it worth losing my son over money? I knew what people would say. A mother suing her own son for money. A mother who can't forgive. A mother who puts conditions on love. I opened my phone, looking at Jacob's profile picture, his smile, sunglasses, the beach trip I had unknowingly paid for. I typed, "You don't have to come anymore. Let's just forget it. I love you." My finger trembled, hovering over the send button. One tap, and everything would go back to how it was. He'd still come on the 5th. I'd still hand over the money, he'd still lie, and I'd keep fading away, but at least I'd still have a son. I almost hit send, almost. Then my eyes caught the old photo on the wall, our wedding picture. I was 23, wearing a simple white dress, Mark in a borrowed suit, both of us smiling, eyes full of hope. I remembered how he used to lift my chin when I was sad, look into my eyes, and say, "Julie, you're worth more than you think. Never let anyone make you forget that, not even me." I deleted the message. Didn't send it. I went to bed and managed to sleep for about an hour. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains. I showered, letting the warm water wash away some of the heaviness inside. I chose a simple but neat outfit, tied my hair back, and dabbed on a bit of lipstick, not to look good for anyone else, but to remind myself that I still had worth. At 9 a.m., Andrew arrived, navy suit, leather briefcase, composed demeanor. "Good morning, Mrs. Julie. Did you sleep well?" "I slept fine," I lied. He sat in the armchair I had placed in a hidden corner, where Jacob wouldn't notice him right away. "Are you still sure about doing this?" His tone wasn't just that of a lawyer, but of someone who genuinely cared. "I have to. If I don't do it now, I never will." He nodded. "All right. I'll stay silent until you give me the signal." A text came from Helen. "Julie, Janet and I are ready. Call if you need us." I sent back a heart. I waited. 30 minutes. An hour. Would he show up? Did he somehow sense what was coming? Then, near noon, I heard the key turn in the lock. My heart pounded, palms damp with sweat. Andrew motioned for me to stay calm. "Mom, you home?" That voice, the same voice that had called out to me since he could talk, that once squealed, "Mom, look what I drew." Now, it was the voice of someone about to ask for money again. "I'm in the living room, son." Jacob walked in, and for the first time in 3 years, I truly saw him. Not through the eyes of a blinded mother, but of a woman who had been used. The expensive clothes, the watch worth a year of my pension, the neatly styled hair from a luxury salon, a 42-year-old man living off his mother. He looked at me, slightly confused, then something flickered in his eyes, guilt, pity, gone as fast as it appeared. "Mom, he began, but stopped when he saw Andrew rising from the chair. His smile froze, color draining from his face. "Mom, what's going on?" I stayed silent, looking at the son I had carried, cradled, and loved more than life itself, feeling no urge to protect him anymore. Andrew stepped forward and offered his hand. "Hello, Jacob. I'm Andrew Collins, your mother's attorney. Pleasure to meet you." Jacob stared at his hand like it was a snake and didn't shake it. "Attorney? Mom, what is this?" "Sit down, Jacob." My voice was calmer than it had ever been. "I don't want to sit. I want to know what's happening." I said, "Sit down." Something in my tone made him obey. He sat on the edge of the couch, tense. Andrew opened his briefcase, laying out neat stacks of documents on the table, bank statements, printed messages, written testimonies from Helen and Janet, photos from social media, and finally, the pink and blue blanket. Jacob stared at the pile as if watching a car crash, unable to look away, though he clearly wanted to. "Mom, I can explain." "No," I raised my hand. "For 3 years, you talked and I listened. Today, you sit there and listen to me." I picked up my small notebook, the one that had become my diary of pain. November 2021, you asked me for $8,000 for your wedding. December, $4,500 for furniture. Then, February 2022, I read aloud, month by month, payment by payment, lie by lie. September 2024, you asked for $5,000, saying Emily's pregnancy was high risk and needed special tests. I lifted the pink and blue blanket. I made this stitch by stitch because I didn't know if it would be a boy or a girl. I stayed up many nights, imagining that child's face, a child who never existed. Jacob's face went pale. 3 weeks after you took the money, I saw your wife at a bar, holding a glass of wine, not the slightest sign of pregnancy. And do you know where I heard the truth? At a supermarket. I heard her brag to a friend that I was an easy fool, a milk cow you two drained every month. Tears filled my possible eyes, but my voice didn't shake. $47,300, that's how much you took from me. While you dined in luxury, I ate noodles with sausage. When you vacationed in Cancun, I cut my blood pressure pills in half to make them last. While you wore designer clothes, I fell behind on my bills. Jacob opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The worst part isn't the money, it's that you looked me in the eyes and lied, that you used my love, that to you, I was just an emotional ATM. My throat burned, but I had to keep going. Andrew placed a steadying hand on my shoulder, a small gesture, but it kept me standing. Jacob, he said firmly yet calmly, your mother has the legal right to reclaim these funds. We have evidence, witnesses, and clear signs of fraud. We can take this to court and make it public. Or, he paused, you can agree to a civil settlement. Settlement? Jacob repeated, voice trembling. You'll repay about 63%, $30,000 in installments, along with a written agreement never to ask her for money again. I don't have that kind of money, he muttered. Then find a way, Andrew replied. Sell your car, cut expenses, take out a loan. That's your problem. You had 3 years to spend it, now you'll spend time paying it back. Jacob turned to me, eyes wet. Mom, please, don't do this. I'm your son. Something inside me broke, or maybe it finally healed. A son doesn't fake a pregnancy. A son doesn't turn his mother into a bank. A son doesn't call his mother a cow. He burst into tears, choking on his sobs. Mom, I was wrong. I really was. But please, don't do this. We can talk privately. No. It's over, Jacob. Over is the part where I suffer and still call it love. He jumped up, furious. You'll regret this. You'll grow old and lonely, you'll see. Son, I said softly but firmly, I've been lonely for 3 years since the day you decided I was only worth something when I had money to give. He slammed the door and shouted he'd never come back. When it closed, I collapsed, crying into Andrew's arms as if he were the one holding up his mother. I wept for the relationship that had died, for the son I thought I still had somewhere inside him. Helen and Janet rushed in. Julie, are you all right? No, but I would be. Do you think he understood and apologized? Not yet. The story wasn't over. 3 days later, the house was eerily quiet. Not the emptiness I felt after Mark died, but the silence of a decision made, a bridge burned, freedom laced with fear. Jacob didn't call or text, and I didn't reach out either. Andrew had warned me, Mrs. Julie, wait. He'll need time to process this, talk to his wife, and once he realizes he's out of options, he'll come back. While I waited, I didn't sit still. I needed the truth. If Jacob could lie about the baby, the house repairs, the classes, what else had he lied about? I called Andrew. Is there a way to find out what my son really spent the money on? Maybe hire a private investigator? He chuckled. No need, Mrs. Julie. You have the internet. People broadcast their whole lives without even realizing it. I created a fake account with a landscape photo and the name Mary Stevens, then followed Jacob and Emily. Their profiles were public, filled with glossy, happy, fake moments. I spent 2 days scrolling through every post, matching dates with the records I had. July 2023, he asked for $2,200 to fix his laptop on Instagram. There's a photo of them dining at an upscale seafood restaurant, captioned, Enjoying life with my love. March 2024, he requested $1,500 for a programming course the same day. He posted a story showing off new Nike Air Max sneakers costing $1,899. August 2024, he asked for $2,500 for his wife's dentist visit, while Emily posted a spa photo with the caption, Because we deserve it. Each discovery was like a knife twist, but I kept going. I needed to be certain I wasn't wrong about him. I even found the Cancun photos, 7 posts, 5-star hotel, sunny beaches, designer swimsuits, colorful cocktails. Their joy had been built with my money. I printed everything, each picture, each caption, each proof that my sweat and tears had funded their luxury. Helen found me surrounded by piles of printouts, my eyes red. Julie, this is destroying you. I need to know, Helen. I need to know exactly what he did. You already know. He used you. Stop torturing yourself. But I needed to see it with my own eyes. A part of me still wanted to believe there was some reason, that I'd been too harsh. But no, there was nothing to justify it. By Saturday, Andrew called. Mrs. Julie, your son's lawyer reached out. They want to negotiate. Jacob can't afford the full $30,000, but he's willing to return $25,000 in 25 installments, $1,000 a month. I did the math. 25 months, just over 2 years. What if he stops paying halfway? That's why we'll have a contract with interest, penalties, and a guarantee clause. If he defaults, we'll sue immediately. I took a deep breath. I agree. You're sure? Once it's signed, there's no going back. It'll be an official debt acknowledgement. I'm sure. Then I'll schedule the meeting for Tuesday afternoon, 2 o'clock. You, Jacob, and his attorney, are you ready? I'm ready, I said, though my heart was trembling. Sunday, I sat quietly, running through everything in my head. Janet brought over a pot of hot stew. Have you eaten, Julie? I'm trying to. She sat beside me. You know you're doing the right thing, don't you? No matter what anyone says, you're just protecting yourself. But what if I lose my son forever, Janet? What if he never forgives me? She cupped my face, the same way Mark used to. If he can't forgive you for demanding respect, then he was never really your son, just someone who used you. I cried again. It felt like tears had become part of my daily routine. The next day, I nearly gave up. I picked up my phone 5 times, ready to call Andrew and tell him to stop, that I forgave Jacob. But then I looked around my house, the leaking roof, the loud refrigerator, the worn furniture while my son lived comfortably on my money. And I remembered that I, too, deserved respect. Tuesday came, and the sun was blazing. I wore my neatest navy blue dress, put on a bit of lipstick, and tied my hair back. Helen showed up and knocked on my door. I'm coming with you. Helen, you don't have to. I know, but I'm still going. We took a cab to Andrew's office. The room felt smaller that day, or maybe it was just my nerves. He greeted me with a reassuring smile. Mrs. Julie, they're already in the conference room. Would you like to rest for a bit first? I would. I went into the restroom, splashed water on my face, and looked at the 68-year-old woman staring back at me in the mirror, tired, bruised, but still standing. You can do this, Julie. You survived losing your husband, raised a child alone, endured 3 years of lies. You can handle 1 more hour. I stepped out, took a deep breath. I'm ready. Andrew opened the conference room door. Jacob was there, sitting beside a man in a gray suit, probably his lawyer. He looked different, thinner, dark circles under his eyes, unshaven, his shirt wrinkled. He didn't look at me, just kept his head down, hands clasped tightly like a child caught doing something wrong. I sat, across from him, my purse on my lap to hide my shaking hands. His lawyer spoke first, his tone flat and detached. Mr. Collins, my client acknowledges receiving money from his mother over the past 3 years, but views it as an open-ended, interest-free loan that he intends to repay. Andrew didn't blink. An intention that failed to produce repayment, sir. This is a loan involving proven deceit. He opened his briefcase and presented the printed messages, photos, and witness statements. These actions demonstrate deliberate fraud. Jacob's lawyer adjusted his glasses. Even so, litigation would only harm both sides. Therefore, my client proposes the previously discussed settlement, $25,000, repaid over 25 months, with 1% monthly interest for late payments and a 30% penalty if payments stop. Andrew slid the contract across the table. All terms are here. That's when Jacob finally looked up, his voice hoarse. Mom. I met his eyes and saw a stranger. Maybe I had finally taken off the blindfold and seen who Jacob really was, the person he had always been. Sign it, Jacob. Mom, please, can we talk first? No. The time for talking is over. You had 3 years to be honest, to act like a real son. My voice didn't tremble. Now you sign this, and we each go our own way. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, then opened it once more as tears began streaming down his cheeks. I'm sorry. So am I said. And I meant it. But this time, I wouldn't let pity turn into another excuse. His lawyer pushed the pen toward him. Jacob, sign it. His hand shook as he took the pen and signed his name. Andrew gathered the papers, made copies, and handed one to each of us. The first payment is due on the 5th of next month, transferred directly to Mrs. Julie's account. If there's any issue, the contract allows for immediate legal action, Andrew said. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and looked at my son one last time. Jacob, I will always love you, because a mother's love doesn't stop. I paused. But I've learned that love doesn't mean letting someone walk all over you. When you're grown enough to understand that, my door will still be open. For now, I just hope I never have to see you come back asking for what's not yours. I walked out of that room with my back straight and my head high. On the street, Helen hugged me, and I broke down crying. I cried from pain but also from relief. You think that's where it ends? That he paid every cent and became a better man? If life were that simple, there'd be nothing left to tell. The first payment came on the 5th of November, exactly $1,000. I was sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee when my phone buzzed with a bank notification. Transfer from Jacob Miller, $1,000. I sat down, staring at the number on the screen. I didn't feel happy or victorious, just empty, like I'd won a small battle but lost a lifetime. Helen, who had been joining me for morning coffee since everything happened, looked over. See, the money's coming in. How do you feel? I don't know, I said, and I really didn't relieved, sad, angry, it all tangled together in my chest. December came another $1,000, no message attached. No, how are you, Mom? No, I'm sorry. Just money cold, obligatory, like someone paying a late bill. January the 3rd transfer, but this time, a WhatsApp message near midnight. Mom, Emily left me. I lay in the dark staring at the words, my heart tightened. Even knowing she was poison, it still hurt to imagine my son in pain. I didn't reply right away. I lay there for 3 hours, eyes on the ceiling, weighing every word. Finally, I texted back, I'm sorry, son. I hope you'll be okay. Short, without comfort, without, I told you so, without, serves you right, because this wasn't about satisfaction. He read it, but didn't answer. The following week, Janet stopped by. Julie, did you hear? Emily's got someone new. She posted pictures yesterday. My first instinct was to grab my phone, but I stopped. I don't want to know, Janet. But Julie, I don't want to. Her life's no longer my business. Neither is his. I was learning that slowly, painfully, but one step at a time. February, another $1,000. March, another $1,000. I started using the money to fix up the house, first the leaking roof, then the old refrigerator. I bought my medication in full, no longer cutting pills in half. I bought meat every week, not just noodles. And strangely, I felt guilty, as if spending my own money was somehow wrong, as if I were the villain in the story. During a visit to Andrew's office to update paperwork, I told him that it feels strange every time I use the money, like I'm doing something bad. He put his pen down and looked at me over his glasses. Mrs. Julie, what are you talking about? This is your money, it's always been your money. He took it from you through lies. You're not taking revenge by spending it, you're restoring fairness. But he's my son. And you're his mother, not his servant. He leaned forward. You've done the hardest thing a mother can do, set a boundary. Now don't go back, don't punish yourself. Just live. I walked out of that office with his words echoing in my mind. Live your life. Did I even remember how to live for myself? April brought something unexpected. On the 4th, a day before the next payment, Jacob called, not a text, an actual call. I saw his name flashing on the screen, my heart racing, palms sweating. I picked up at the last second. Mom, his voice was rough. Mom, can I talk to you? I'm listening. Can we meet in person? Just for half an hour. I need to say some things. Part of me wanted to say no. I was scared of softening, of going backward, of slipping into the role of the foolish, forgiving mother again. When? Tomorrow afternoon. I'll come to your house. No. Meet me at Laurelhurst Park, 3 o'clock. There was a brief silence. Okay, Mom. Thank you. I set the phone down, staring at the screen as if it might explode. Helen, who had been in the kitchen, heard everything. Are you sure about this? No. But I think I need to hear what he has to say. Want me to come? No, I need to do this myself. That night, I didn't sleep. I thought through every possibility. Would he ask to cancel the deal? Blame me? Try to manipulate me again? Or maybe he'd really changed? The next day, I arrived at the park 15 minutes early, sat on a bench under a tree, watching people pass by, mothers with children, couples holding hands, old men, playing chess. Ordinary life, the kind I'd forgotten existed. Right at 3 o'clock, I saw Jacob in the distance. He walked slowly, hands in his pockets, dressed simply, wearing flip-flops, no sign of arrogance. He sat down, keeping a bit of distance, no hug, no kiss on the cheek. Hi, Mom. Hi, son. We sat in silence for 2 long minutes that felt like hours. Finally, he spoke. I don't even know where to start. From the beginning. That's always easiest. He gave a small, shaky laugh. I messed everything up, didn't I? His voice cracked. I ruined everything and made you feel like you were the bad guy. I stayed quiet. After Emily left, I felt lost. Then I realized she was only with me while the money was easy. And the easy money came from you. My chest tightened. Jacob. No, Mom, let me finish. I used you. I used your love, your kindness, your loneliness. I made up disgusting lies. I even invented a grandchild. How could I lie like that? His voice broke, tears streaming down his face. I knew you were struggling, and I still spent recklessly. I pretended not to see because it was easier. Because all I cared about was myself. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but I let him continue. Emily didn't turn me into this. I did. I chose to lie, to exploit. And now I'm paying for it, though it's still not enough for what I did. He wiped his face and took a deep breath. I didn't come to ask for forgiveness, because I don't deserve it. I just want one thing: please don't let what I did kill you inside. Live. Be happy, even without me. I looked at him, my son, who had once broken me completely, but who now seemed truly awakened. Jacob, you shattered me to the point I didn't think I could ever put myself back together. He nodded, tears falling fast. But you're still my son. And part of me, even hurt, still hopes you'll learn from this and become a real man. I'll try, Mom. I promise. Don't promise me. Promise yourself. I took a deep breath. The agreement stays. You'll pay back every dollar, not because I need it, but because you need to understand that every action has consequences. I understand. When you've paid it all back, if you truly change, we'll talk again, slowly, carefully, start rebuilding. And if I can't, then you'll understand that some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. I stood up. But I'll hope you can. He stood, awkward, then I opened my arms. He stepped into them like a frightened child, sobbing on my shoulder. I held him for the last time as a forgiving mother, and for the first time as a woman who knew that real love sometimes has to say enough. I wiped away both our tears. Now go. Fix your life. Become the man your father could be proud of. He nodded and walked away. I watched him go. My heart heavy. Not happy, not sad, just peaceful. You think that's where the story ends beautifully? Not yet. There's more. The months that followed were strange. For the first time in years, I lived for myself, not for Jacob, not for the memory of Mark. The payments kept coming on the 5th of each month, $1,000, right on time, no messages, just money. May, June, July, 3 more thousand. I used some to repaint the house. The walls had yellowed and peeled, so I chose a light beige that made the rooms brighter and lighter. Helen helped me pick the color. Julie, look, it feels like a brand new home. And it did. Not just the walls, but the whole house seemed to exhale, as if it too felt the weight lifting. In August, Janet showed up with a suggestion. Julie, my group's planning a 3-day beach trip. Just a small guest house, nothing fancy. Come with us? My first reaction was to refuse, claiming I didn't have money, that I had things to do. But then I looked at my account. Nearly $5,000 saved. $5,000 of my own, free to spend without guilt. I'll go. Janet's smile lit up her whole face. And I did go for the first time in 4 years. Since Mark passed, I left the city. I dipped my feet in the ocean, ate grilled fish by the shore, drank cold coconut water, and laughed until my stomach hurt. There was a group of women at the guest house, all in their 60s and 70s. At night, we sat on the porch, listening to the waves and sharing our stories. Every one of us had suffered, had lost something, yet here we were, still alive, still whole, still starting over. One woman named Jessie, with short silver hair and bright, sharp eyes, said to me, "You know what I've learned, Julie? People don't die when their hearts stop beating. They die when they stop living. So many keep breathing, but they've been dead for years." I looked at her and thought I almost became one of those people. I almost died while still alive. But I woke up, in time. I came home with sun-kissed skin, a light heart, and a sense of new energy. September arrived with a strange call from an unfamiliar number. "Hello, is this Mrs. Julie? I'm Marcia, calling from the Social Security Administration. Do you remember coming to our office a few months ago to review your retirement benefits?" I remembered. That day, I went there in desperation, just hoping to get a small increase in my monthly check. Yes, I remember. "Well, I have good news. You were supposed to receive an adjustment back in 2021, but there was a calculation error. You'll be receiving back pay, and your monthly benefit will increase to $3,640. I was silent, completely frozen. "Mrs. Julie, are you still there?" "Yes." "Sorry, how much did you say?" "The back pay is $11,280, which will be deposited within 30 days. And starting next month, you'll receive $3,640 every month." I hung up and stared at the wall. $11,000, plus the higher monthly payments. Not a fortune, but freedom. Enough to live without choosing between medication and groceries. I cried, but they were tears of relief and gratitude. October, November, December passed, and the money arrived steadily. Jacob didn't call, didn't text, just quietly honored his commitment. Then came January, my 69th birthday. A small box appeared at my door, wrapped in simple brown paper. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a card and something wrapped in tissue paper. I opened the card first. "Mom, I don't know if I still have the right to call you that, and I'm not sure I'll ever get another chance, but today is your birthday, and I couldn't let it pass like it was nothing. I've been in therapy twice a week. I'm learning to look at myself, at what I've done, and at who I want to be. I have 13 months left to finish paying you back. 13 months I'll carry as a reminder of what I did to you. I found this in an antique store and thought of you. Happy birthday. Jacob." I unfolded the tissue paper. Inside was a small gold pin, shaped like a cluster of purple grapes, delicate, old-fashioned. I held it in my hand and burst into tears. He remembered. He remembered those days when we picked grapes in the yard, when he was little, his lips stained purple from eating too many. He remembered when we were still a real family. I put the pin back in the box, not ready to wear it yet, but I kept it. Time passed, and the house grew warmer. I tended the garden again, planting yellow roses that my husband Mark had loved. I bought a few new pieces of furniture for the living room and replaced the old television with a modern flat screen. It wasn't about showing off, it was about learning to care for myself, to believe I deserved a good life. Helen and Janet had become part of my world. We had breakfast together 3 times a week, took morning walks, sometimes watched movies at the mall. I realized I had true friends, not just polite neighbors. Real friends, people who held my hand when I felt weak, who celebrated even my smallest joys, who reminded me I wasn't alone. By June of 2026, only 3 payments remained. That's when Jacob called again. "Mom, can I come see you?" This time, I didn't choose a neutral place. All right, come to my house. Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock. He arrived on time, knocking on the door. He no longer had a key since I'd taken it back when we signed the agreement. I opened it. He looked different, thinner, but healthier. His hair was neatly cut, his clothes clean and simple. There was something changed in his eyes. Humility, genuine remorse. "Hi, Mom. Hi, come in." He stepped inside, looking around at the freshly painted walls, the blooming garden, the tidy furniture. "Your house looks beautiful, Mom. Thank you." I poured coffee. He accepted. We sat on the porch in silence, but it was a peaceful silence. "Mom, I came to ask something." He turned the coffee cup in his hands. "I want to pay the remaining 3 months all at once tomorrow, so I can close this chapter." I looked at him, surprised. "You have the money?" "I do. I've been working extra hours, taking side jobs, saving up. I need to end this so I can move forward." "What about Emily?" He smiled sadly. "She married a businessman in March. I saw it online. I guess she finally got what she always wanted, money without effort." "And what did you find?" He looked at me. "Shame, regret, and thanks to therapy, a bit of peace. I haven't forgiven myself yet, and maybe I never will, but I'm trying every day." I felt my throat tighten. "All right, I'll accept it." The next day, $3,000 appeared in my account. The debt was paid on paper, financially, legally. But inside, some wounds still needed time. 3 weeks later, Jacob called again. "Mom, would you have lunch with me?" Once a month. No expectations, no pressure, just to talk, slowly. I hesitated for several seconds that felt like a full minute. "All right, but with conditions. 1, you must be completely honest. 2, you can never ask me for money again. 3, if I ever feel this isn't good for me, I'll stop, and you must respect that." "I agree, Mom, all of it." And so we began. 1 lunch a month, at a modest restaurant, talking slowly, seeing each other as 2 separate people, not just mother and son. It wasn't easy. Some days I got angry. Some days he carried so much guilt he could barely speak, but we kept going. In August of 2026, I was watering flowers in the yard when I heard the gate. It was Jacob, but he wasn't alone. "Mom, this is Dr. Robert, my therapist. He wanted to meet you, if that's okay." A man in his 50s, with a kind smile, shook my hand. "Mrs. Julie, your son has told me a lot about you. I wanted to thank you personally for setting boundaries, for respecting yourself. That's what helped him grow up. If you had kept rescuing him, he might never have learned to stand on his own." His words pierced my heart. For months, I'd wondered if I'd been too harsh, if I'd been a bad mother. But no. I had been a real mother, one who loved deeply enough to let her child face consequences, who taught even when teaching hurt. In September, the back payment arrived, $11,000. I donated $3,000 to a nursing home, spent $2,000 renovating the bathroom, and saved the rest. I'd learned that financial security wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. October and November came, and our monthly lunches became twice a month. Jacob talked about work, about therapy, about learning to live simply but meaningfully. He didn't talk about women or parties, he talked about purpose, about kindness. And I learned to be Julie again, not Mark's widow, not just Jacob's mother, but me. A 69-year-old woman living in a cozy house, surrounded by blooming flowers, true friends, traveling when she wished, laughing freely, crying when needed, bearing scars but proud of them. On Christmas Eve of 2026, Jacob came with a gift box. "I swear, it's not money," he said with a shy smile. "It's a real Christmas gift." I opened it. Inside was an old photo album filled with pictures I thought were lost: him as a child, him with his father, me with Mark, all of us, a family, in those faraway days. "I found it at Aunt Linda's house. She kept it after you moved out when Dad passed. I had some of the faded photos restored." I turned each page, looking at my life in black and white. On the last page was a new photo, Jacob and me at one of our recent lunches, smiling, not perfect, but real. "Jacob," my voice trembled. "Mom, I know I can't erase the past, but I want you to know that every day I'm trying to become the son you deserve." I hugged him tightly. Not the blind forgiveness kind of hug, but one that recognized effort, acknowledged change, and accepted the possibility of trying again one day at a time. We spent Christmas together, just me, him, Helen, and Janet. A simple dinner, genuine laughter, peaceful silence. When they left, I sat on the porch, looking at the starry sky, and for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. Because I had learned the hardest lessons, that real love needs boundaries, that a mother who respects herself teaches her child to do the same, that forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's moving on with a lighter heart. That dignity has no price, and that it's never too late to choose yourself. I took the little purple grape pin Jacob had given me, fastened it to my blouse, and smiled. I was back, Julie was back. Scarred, but standing, tall, and finally, truly free. What about you? Have you ever had to set boundaries with someone you love? Share your thoughts in the comments. I believe that in our stories, someone always finds a piece of themselves. And if you want to keep walking with me through these journeys where every story carries a lesson about love, family, and self-respect, stay with the channel, so together we can keep learning how to heal and live more peacefully each day.